was in Qatar almost for a year, went to Karachi, came back to the U.S. Were there missed signals, missed indicators?
Well, there may be, but that is definitely money boarding quarterback second guessing, which is what we will do. When we're doing this in these bad circumstances, but it's enormously difficult. It's enormously challenging. What do you do if not guilty yet? This is a land of the rule of law where you are presumed innocent. So it's an enormously difficult problem. So I'll go back to the root cause of this. Literally, is Islamic terror is the greatest destabilizing force today in the world, and we are not adequately addressing it as a civilized world, and we are not adequately leading as the world's sole superpower, the one nation that really can have the moral authority to try and lead on this issue.
Well, Senator, what would you like the president to do in his remaining months?
Well, in the remaining months, I don't expect much out of this president. I was hoping that he could set the table for the next president to literally provide the leadership that he's not provided. Wolf, 2 years ago, in September 2014, the body count in Syria is about 200,000. Today, 2 years later, it's approaching 500,000. We are seeing, in greater frequency, these lone wolf inspired attacks, potentially wolf pack directed attacks in Brussels, in Istanbul, in Nice, Orlando, San Bernardino State, Minnesota, in my own state of Wisconsin. Sandy Muhammad Hamza, that was a foiled plot with great work by the FBI. But he said he'd be 100% happy to slaughter 30 people in the Masonic Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So the threat of Islamic terror is real, it is growing, it is evolving, it is metastasizing, and we have to defeat it, and we have to remain committed to defeating it, and we've not provided the leadership to do so.
Do you agree with Senator Lindsey Graham that Rahami should be held as an enemy combatant that denied the regular legal protections?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I understand the legal argument there. Certainly, from my standpoint, we have to, elevate national security in terms of our priorities. And so, from my standpoint, Lindsey Graham is a greater expert at this. He's written the law on some of these things. I'll let Lindsey Graham make his comments. But from my standpoint, we absolutely have to look at intelligence gathering. We have to really elevate national security and homeland security above other priorities.
Do you think this is going to be the central issue in the election this year?
It certainly should be. That together with economic security, and they're part and parcel of the same issue. National security, economic security are inextricably linked. We have to have a strong economy so we can strengthen our military, so we can defeat ISIS, so we can secure our border. These things we must do, and unfortunately, the debate today has devolved into just corollary issues when this is really the central issue of our time.
Senator Johnson, thanks very much for joining us.
Have a good day.
Thank you, and that's it for me. The news continues right after a quick break.
A well-put-together man is said to be sharp. At GMC, we get why people appreciate that kind of precision. After all, precision is the kind of sharp that slices through a crowd. This is the precision of professional grade. It's the GMC 2016 model year sell down. Now get 20% below MSRP on select Sierra 1500 models in stock. That's over $10,300 on this Sierra SLT Crew.
For lower back pain sufferers, the search for relief often leads to this. Introducing drug-free Aleve Direct Therapy, a high-intensity TENS device that uses technology once only in doctors' offices. For deep penetrating relief at the source, new Aleve Direct Therapy.
You tell your insurance company they made a mistake. The check they sent isn't enough to replace your total new car. The guy says they didn't make the mistake. You made the mistake. I beg your pardon? He says you should have chosen full car replacement. Excuse me? Let me be frank, he says. You picked the wrong insurance plan. No, I picked the wrong insurance company.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car, plus depreciation. Call 1-888-769-2147. And if you have more than one Liberty Mutual policy, you qualify for a multi-policy discount, saving you money on your car and home coverage. Call Liberty Mutual for a free quote today at 1-888-769-2147. That's 1-888-769-2147. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
USA Today and Time Magazine named the Ring Video Doorbell top gadget. Why? Because with Ring, you're always home. You can see and speak to whoever's at your home from your smartphone. Available at ring.com.
The following memories are brought to you by Prevagen. Your memories make you who you are, and now your ability to recall short-term details could actually improve with age. The breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain, allowing you to stay as sharp as possible, because you've got a lot of great memories to make. Powered by an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish, Prevagen is clinically shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
As I reflect on these past 8 years, I have seen the strength of our veterans.
A CNN town hall. President Obama on the challenges facing U.S. veterans and his legacy as Commander-in-Chief.
Our commitment to our veterans is a sacred covenant. We pledge to take care of you and your families when you come home.
Jane Tapper moderates CNN Presidential Town Hall, America's Military and the Commander-in-Chief. September 28th at 9, only on CNN.
You both have a perfect driving record.
Perfect.
Tickets, no accidents.
It is until one of you clips a food truck, ruining your perfect record.
Yeah.
Now, you would think your insurance company would cut you some slack, right?
No, your insurance rates go through the roof. Your perfect record doesn't get you anything.
Anything.
Perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. And if you do have an accident, our claim centers are available to assist you 24/7. For a free quote, call Liberty Mutual at 1-844-252-1811. Switch to Liberty Mutual and you can save up to $509. Call today at 1-844-252-1811. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
This is CNN, the world's news network. This is CNN Breaking News.
Adam Fulton, thanks for being with me on this Tuesday. This is CNN. Breaking news here, new details. The man accused of planting those bombs in and around New York City and New Jersey was jailed for stabbing his own relative, and that the FBI had investigated him on accusations of terrorism, allegedly by his own father. This is We Got a Window into the mind of Ahmaud Rahami. A source telling CNN the suspected attacker wrote about the Boston bombers and an American-born al-Qaeda mastermind. His terror ramblings found in a notebook after his shootout with police. Investigators now believe he was inspired by other terrorists, but questions remain about whether he was in fact acting alone. Another big question here. Why did the bomber's wife up and leave the United States days before these attacks? Officials telling CNN this Pakistani woman, who he married while they were overseas back in 2011, skipped the country 3 days before the bombs went off. So we have that. Pamela Brown has been working this for us. She's our CNN Justice correspondent. But let's begin with this note on the father, the fact that he's been in jail. What more do we know about that?
Right. So we have learned today, in speaking to law enforcement officials, that the father of Ahmaud was actually questioned by the FBI back in 2014 after this domestic dispute. Ahmaud had been arrested for stabbing his brother in the leg and unlawful possession of a weapon. He was put in jail, and apparently at this time, a neighbor heard the father saying that his son was a terrorist. The neighbor alerted authorities about this, and then the FBI interviewed the dad, and we're told by officials that during that interview the dad downplayed concern about his son, and the FBI apparently determined that this wasn't anything more than a domestic dispute, and Ahmaud was not placed in any terror watch list. What's interesting is we're told that Ahmaud was never interviewed at this time in 2014. He was in jail. A grand jury decided not to indict. But this apparently this domestic dispute happened shortly after he returned to the United States from Pakistan. He spent a year in Pakistan, 2013 to 2014. Before that, he was there in 2011 where he married his wife. And so, of course, all of this raises questions, but we're told he went through secondary screening when he returned to the U.S. and he didn't raise any red flags. He said he was just visiting his family.
So also we know he is still in that hospital in New Jersey. He's being treated. We know he faces 5 counts of attempted murder of police. Is he cooperating?
So at last check, and of course, you know how these things go, Brooke, it can change any minute. But at last check, initially, he was not cooperating. He had not been Mirandized as of this morning. And so what authorities can do is exercise the national security exception, the public safety exception, which happened in the Boston bombing as well with the Jahar Tsarnaev in the hospital. And so what authorities hope to do is to get Ahmad to speak to them today at some point in the hospital. What's tricky is the medical side of things, because he went into surgery after being shot. He could be on medications, which could alter his mind. So there's a lot of factors at play here. But authorities, of course, hope to learn from him more about his motivations. They have some clues in that notebook that was on him, but they were able to get after he was captured in the shootout, where he talked about Anwar al-Awlaki, the al-Qaeda cleric. He talked about the Boston bombers, but of course they want to hear more from him and really find out, Brooke, whether anyone else could have been involved. I mean, they're not ruling that possibility out, although they're not looking for anyone specifically, as we heard yesterday.
The beginnings of some of the pieces are starting to come together. Pamela Brown, thank you for that on the investigation, but also just on this 28-year-old, his character, what he was like in high school. The suspect here, he is a naturalized citizen. He was born in Afghanistan, came over when he was a little boy, and is a naturalized U.S. citizen. He attended high school in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and so my next guest, Chris Kanya, attended that same high school with Ahmad Rahami, and he joins me now as a radio host there, 98.9 The Buzz. Chris, thank you so much for jumping on TV with me. And first things first, when is the last time you would have talked to him? Do you remember?
Actually, in high school, the difference in what you just said and what actually happened was we went to Edison High School together, Edison, New Jersey. I was a sophomore and partial junior with him. The last time I remember him was just a casual encounter. I mean, it was either in gym class or the cafeteria or brushing shoulders in the hallway. Nothing honestly stuck out about Ahmad in high school.
What, if nothing stuck out, I mean, do you remember anything? I mean, I think I read that you said he was a class clown. Tell me more about what he was like.
Sure. I know that I remember that he dressed well, designer clothes and stuff like that. I remember that. He wasn't the center of attention to where he was the captain of the football team or the prom king. But when you spoke to him, and he did, respond, but if you were outside of a group of friends, it was funny. It was one of those, he doesn't talk much, but when he does, he has, something clever to say, whether we're talking about sports or music at the time. He always had an input there. Nothing too passionate, but he didn't ignore you when you talked to him. It's such a weird thing to happen.
It's interesting, you note his dress. What was he, jeans and a t-shirt kind of kid in high school? He more of like athletic wear, Air Jordans, Nike Air Force Ones. He would wear the designer, I can't think of the actual phrase, but the swishy pants, Adidas snap-on, stuff like that. Just a little bit of jewelry and stuff, but nothing too flashy, nothing out of the ordinary. As far as a high school kid in the 90s. Do you remember, did he have girlfriends? Did he date anyone you recall?
The only girlfriend that I recall is the girlfriend that everybody has been speaking about, Maria. And only because the relationship wasn't prominent in the gossip of high school. It wasn't announced or anything like that, but she did become pregnant before high school ended.
There was a graph in a piece in the New York Times this morning talking about how the father was very upset with him for having this girlfriend and for, the fact that she got pregnant, though I would imagine, did you ever meet the father? Would you have known anything about him?
I recall meeting the father. I only knew about it in school and when he worked at the Pathmark in Edison, New Jersey, the grocery store. And I would see him behind the counter and kind of give a nod, knowing that we're both classmates, but other than that, outside of school, not very much.
Chris, was he religious? Would he talk about Islam?
He would not. No, it was, like I said, sports, music. He did his work. He graduated, obviously, wasn't a super above the top A student, but he didn't fail out of English 4 times or anything. Somewhere in the middle of that. It's completely average.
Do you have any idea what he did post-graduation?
The only thing that came up post-graduation was that he had to go back to Afghanistan. It was a few years after. That's the only thing. If I flipped through a yearbook and landed on his name, that's what stuck out. Oh, we had to go back to Afghanistan. And the details beyond that, I'm unsure, honestly.
And the note that I read about a 10-year high school reunion, an invitation being extended, or someone was searching for him. Tell me about that.
A friend of mine who I spoke to immediately after seeing his picture on the news, she brought up the detail, the fact that when the high school reunion invitation came out, she was going through the list of people, and she was home, and she was going on Facebook to see what these people were up to, landed on Ahmad, and at the time, he didn't have a Facebook, or at least a discoverable Facebook account that existed. And then, before all this happened, she thought, hey, who doesn't have a Facebook? But now, maybe it makes sense.
Konya, thank you so much for a little bit more of the bits and pieces of who is this person. Thank you so much. I want to bring in Harry Hout, CNN law enforcement analyst and retired New York police detective, and James Gaigliano, former FBI special agent and former chief of staff, FBI special assistant to the assistant director in charge. So, gentlemen, nice to see both of you. First, just on that interview, did anything strike you as he was describing his character, high school, dressed well, girlfriend, anything?
We're hearing a lot of this. I mean, apparently it was like a normal kid in school. Basically, and somehow apparently those trips that he made to Afghanistan and Pakistan
changed him.
Definitely changed him to the point where he came back and then committed this type of attack. I'm sure he sees this kind of stuff all the time working with the FBI. How do we get to the point where we're going to be able to identify them when they come back that they're radical? I know the father had called the police about him, but that was a domestic dispute. I mean, what's the FBI going to do there?
That's because that's my follow-up, and let me ask you that just from an FBI perspective, right? So Pamela reported it. I mean, he's in jail, domestic dispute, stabs a relative, and also some issue with unlawful weapons possession charge. But beyond that, the FBI didn't question him. Father calls him a terrorist at one point, allegedly. But I mean, what is the proper role of the FBI here?
Sure, you have to understand that law enforcement works in concert with each other now, much better post 9/11. So you've got a 36,000 member police force. The FBI has 1,200 agents in New York City, a number of other federal and state police departments and law enforcement agencies working together. This is a complex puzzle, and I heard the police commissioner speak early this morning and say that sometimes much of the investigation doesn't begin until after the first arrest. Now you're going to go back and piece together the pieces of the puzzle. Yes, he traveled to an area in Pakistan that is rife with Taliban. Yes, he's been to Afghanistan. Those in and of themselves do not
incriminating.
Absolutely. Right. You can't go to somebody and say, okay, now we're going to detain you because of those things. You put those investigative clues, as Harry's familiar with, together, they paint a picture, and then you look at that, and then that brings you to this gentleman's private.
Also, the word I keep reading from law enforcement is ghost. He's a ghost. Right. Meaning it's very little. I mean, even hearing the high school friends saying no Facebook, he has virtually no trace online.
And the way that the high school compadre of his described his dress, the way that he appeared to be assimilated, that makes it even more difficult.
We're also getting new details. This is from the New York Times on the devices themselves. So apparently, most or all use the old school flip phones, right? Christmas tree style lights used as initiators, and then this substance HMTD, the explosive compound, served as detonators. I believe that was also the same thing that was used in the 05 London bombings. What do you make of that, Tyler?
I would say in that regard, every bomb maker has their own specific signature. The type of bombs that we're hearing from our sources right now, that of the 10, the 2 that detonated and the 8 that didn't, these were rudimentary devices. These were things that unfortunately you can find in certain corners of the internet, that the pressure cooker type bombs, the pipe bombs, not sophisticated devices. The treasure trove for law enforcement is the fact that we have some that are unexploded. They can go back and they can build out where the parts came from and what style we used.
I also think it's kind of strange that he used pipe bombs in New Jersey,
right?
And pressure cookers in New York. That seems a little strange to me.
Not being consistent.
Yeah, not being consistent with that. And I'm really concerned about his actions. When did he come down to Jersey, place that bomb?
How did he get there?
How did he get there? I mean, was there anybody with him? Did he make any stops? Did he rent a car? Did he take a train? I mean,
what would the wife have potentially known?
Right. Well, you have the wife. She's not only that, but what about that car stop by the feds on Sunday night? I think it was like
by the Verrazano Bridge,
right nearby the Verrazano Bridge. It looks like they were heading towards the airport. Now, we didn't know his who he was until the next morning when that alert came up. Even on my cell phone, that alert came up. 9:35 towards the airport. Now, and the FBI was on them apparently, so they had stopped them. So how could they have known their brother was involved in something if the word hadn't got out until the next morning? Unless somehow the FBI did contact somebody and then there was a phone call placed to them to get out of Dodge. I mean, it's really strange. And I'm sure when the FBI stopped them, what they did was they interviewed them and released them. But apparently all their stories jived, so that's why they were released.
Okay. Harry and James, thank you so much for now. A new backlash also against one of Donald Trump's own sons for comparing Syrian refugees to candy. Skittles, to be specific. A reality check on that next. Plus, wrap your head around this. A Kennedy is now saying President George H.W. Bush, a former Republican president, father of a former Republican president, will vote for Hillary Clinton. And they're perhaps the most famous couple in the world, but the news today, Angelina Jolie filing for divorce from Brad Pitt. What do we know? How about the why? We have that ahead.
You know your heart loves Mega Red Omega-3s. But did you know your eyes, your brain, and your joints really love them too? Introducing Mega Red Advanced 4-in-1. Just one soft gel delivers the omega-3 power of 2 regular fish oil pills. So give your body mega support with Mega Red Advanced 4-in-1.